Chapter 71 Pink-haired people are always considered as the future of the Navy. You are listening at Audio. After leaving aside the issue of recruitment, the rest of the conversation went smoothly overall. One wanted to sell, and the other wanted to buy. They soon reached a consensus on the price. If all the materials are provided by us, the price can be lower, right? Of course, it will be good for us if you deal with all these troublesome links, but there is one thing: some parts must be processed in the place I specify. When doing business on this sea, transportation costs have always been a problem, especially in the Grand Route. The changeable sea currents and the rampant pirates make the movement of merchant ships very dangerous, and the high prices of goods in cross-island trade are also inseparable from this. In the underground world, Umit still controls the most transportation channels. Usually, Feld also transports goods through Umit. Although the cost is slightly higher, it is safer. This is a basic problem. Even if Feld obtains a special ship that can pass through the doldrums through Orlan, he still doesn't know enough about shipping. This is because he has some cooperation with Umit through this thing. If the Navy is allowed to transport it by itself, these problems will not be a problem. Even if it is robbed halfway, it has nothing to do with Orlan anyway. Even if the Navy doesn't go through the doldrums, it can still go around the Red Soil continent. The technical cost of the Seastone ship is very low and the method is very simple, but before it is announced to the world, it is still a secret, and even Vegapunk has not thought about it for the time being. Orlan did not remind Vegapunk or the Navy about this matter, and let them figure it out slowly. Why is it the South China Sea? I heard that Feld has prepared a lot of research facilities for you in the Grand Line. Can't it be produced there? There is a difference between laboratory products and factory products. I have guided the construction of a factory there. The workers there are more familiar with how to build this kind of thing. If you want, you can build a new one nearby. The guidance fee is about. This number is enough. Orlan wrote down a number on the paper again. The word worker was just a perfunctory one. The most important thing is the bear. The existing equipment is difficult to compare with the bear's meatball fruit in terms of material synthesis. As far as the current situation is concerned, the upgraded prosthetic material cannot be separated from the help of the meatball fruit. The Navy has no objection to this matter. The Kingdom of Salb is also a member state, and there is also a Navy branch nearby. There is no problem with placing the foundry there. We have no disagreement about the lecture, but Dr. Sidilir, we need you to conduct another live broadcast at the Navy headquarters. This time the content is facing all the disabled soldiers. There should be no problem with this, right? That the Navy headquarters also wants to take this opportunity to show all the Navy that there is no need to be afraid even if they are disabled due to combat. The Navy will not give up any soldier, and will use new technology to bring them changes, so as to win over the army and enhance the cohesion of the soldiers. Okay, just treat it as a gift for the transaction. I have a set of samples with me. If you have a suitable target, I can perform prosthetic surgery at any time. Fran, bring the things over. Frankenstein brought in a box that was much taller than her from outside the door. After the box was opened, the mechanical products of various shapes inside also refreshed the Navy's cognition. The most basic limbs, dense bones for strengthening, spinal reinforcement plug-ins, brain implant rangefinder. Here are special weapon modules, knives, swords, guns and cannons. In short, as long as he is not dead, I can make him stand up again. It depends on how far you want to go. There are more sophisticated equipment, but those are no longer in the scope of transactions, so Oren did not mention these things. By the way, Mit, this is for you. You have advertised for me a lot in the past few years. Although there is no special weapon module, it is stronger than your civilian version. Thank you, Dr. Oren. I will not let this arm down, and I will definitely maximize its value. You're welcome. Anyway, the Navy headquarters has paid for it. He suddenly didn't know what to say. They had reached a deal, and it was no problem to say that they had paid. Oren's things were indeed given to the Navy, but there was something inexplicably weird about it. Thank you soldiers for your outstanding contributions in the war against pirates and maintaining world peace. The Navy headquarters has reached a cooperation intention with Dr. Sidilir Oran. The Navy will not give up any soldier, and all disabled soldiers will be given the necessary protection. Iron Arm Might situation is not unrepeatable. I wish you all a better future. In the Navy G3 branch, the video Den Mushi in the hospital is playing the screen broadcast from the Navy headquarters. On the bed next to him, a wounded soldier with empty trouser legs was staring at and listening to Sengoku's speech in amazement. For justice, we will never compromise. Lawrence. Stop being in a daze, the doctor is asking you a question. Oh, sorry, I was distracted just now. What did you say, doctor? Lawrence is an ordinary Navy soldier. In the battle a few days ago, he lost his legs due to artillery fire. In fact, he could have saved his legs, but at that time there were too many wounded soldiers and limited medical resources, so the doctor had no time to perform a detailed operation on him. In order to save as many lives as possible as quickly as possible, the doctor chose to perform an amputation on him. It's nothing. Let's see what's wrong with your mental state. Have you heard the news from the headquarters? Don't worry. If you can stand up in the future, the most you can do is wait. To be honest, was it true that I was only in a coma for a week? Why do I feel like several years have passed? How come I haven't heard of this technology before? To be precise, you were only in a coma for 6 days. Don't worry, it's all true. This technology has always been around, but this doctor made it available to the public. The military doctor couldn't tell Lawrence, don't underestimate the department's technology. It's just that you, an ordinary sergeant, are not worth the department's investment. Instead of custom making a prosthetic body for you, it would be better to retire you. At the same time, in the marshal's office at the Navy headquarters, the same image also appeared on the projection screen, but the topic here was completely different. Zifa, you are the youngest general in these years. You have only been in this position for 4 years. You. Marshal Kong, needless to say, I have made my decision. Now I no longer have the ability to continue to hold this position. I can't do it. Zifa. I have no plans to quit the Navy. Look at these young men, Marshal Kong, they are full of passion and want to be heroes, but I can no longer be that so-called hero. In fact, I realized a long time ago that the Navy is not a simple hero. But at that time, I was a little tired, so I didn't want to think too much. Now I just want to protect my family better, but these young people are the future of the Navy. Let me use my remaining energy to train them to become new heroes. In the year 1490 of the maritime calendar, General Zifa of the Navy headquarters resigned from the position of general and became the chief instructor of the Navy headquarters. Chapter 72, Playing the Long Game to Catch the Big Fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The survival of his wife and children has changed Zifa a little. In the original timeline, he initially thought of resigning directly, but with the efforts of his superiors, Zifa, who still had a glimmer of hope for the Navy, became an instructor. Now, Zifa has taken the initiative to request to transfer to the second-line work. He has seen many recruits over the years, but they may not all survive. The current Navy training camp seems too weak to Zifa, and he wants to change this. From today on, he will be the cruelest instructor and let the recruits know how indifferent the world is in advance. Only in this way can these recruits survive better. Okay, Marshal Kong, I have decided not to disturb you. I have been away from home for 30 minutes, so I will go back first. I know, the headquarters will temporarily retain your military rank, and the treatment will not change. Zifa has made up his mind to leave, so Kong didn't say anything else, but gave Zifa some guarantees on treatment. Zifa is not the type of natural monster, and he has reached the level of a general without starting. He used to be an ordinary Navy officer. It took him 10 years to become a junior non-commissioned officer. He has accumulated a lot of experience to grow to where he is today. Such Zifa has more experience. Whether he is fighting on the battlefield as an ordinary soldier or fighting against monsters as a top combat force, he can give reasonable suggestions. It is also a good thing for the future of the Navy to have Zifa as the chief instructor. Now the Navy and Orlan have finalized some issues, but the surgery has not started immediately. It is not a problem with the environment or Orlan, but there are some internal issues on the Navy side that need to be discussed. Obviously, the purpose of installing military prostheses for the wounded is to enable them to continue fighting. The money must be paid by the Navy, but if a soldier chooses to retire directly after the installation, there will be a problem. If they retire after being disabled and use their own subsidies to install civilian versions, the Navy headquarters will not interfere, but the order will not work. So they need to review one thing to ensure that the first batch of people who install prostheses are those who have a firm heart of justice and are willing to continue to contribute to the Navy. Only this group of people will allow the headquarters to invest more funds, so it will take some time to review. During this period, the Navy will first hold a medal ceremony and recruit new soldiers. Father, are those biowaves in the conference room really okay? Frankenstein is very sensitive to this kind of thing. Even the messages sent by Den Mushi can be sensed. From the beginning, she knew that someone was watching the things in the conference room from a farther distance. It doesn't matter. It was supposed to be announced. It's better to let them know about these things. There is no one else who can do this in the Navy headquarters except the world government. At this time, Oran and Frankenstein were still in the building of the Navy headquarters. From here through the window, they could see the square of Crescent Bay. At this time, a large number of Navy soldiers were holding a ceremony in neat rows in the square. It's a good army, but it's a pity that they don't obey my orders. Let's go, Frankenstein, it's almost time to start assembling that thing. In Oran's resting place, a stickman-like thing was assembled by Oran. The extremely simple body structure made it look more like a toy, but the essence of this thing was a training dummy. Dong dong. On the table next to him, Zack, who was curled up like a slime, suddenly jumped up, and an arrow floated above his head pointing out the window. Following the direction of the arrow, you can see Zifa holding a gift box, walking towards this side with his wife and son. Finally here, Fran, let's start. Yes. Putting the war hammer behind him, Frankenstein made a bare-handed fighting posture. When Zifa came here, he just saw the scene of Frankenstein fighting with the training robot in the backyard. General Zifa. Why are you here? I said before that I would thank you formally, but my wife and son need to rest for a while, so I delayed it. Now they have almost recovered, and I have also finished my official duties, so of course I can't delay it any longer. Thank you again for saving my family and saving me from the negligence caused by my negligence as a husband and father. Please accept this gift. Thank you for the efforts of the military doctors of this headquarters. Zifa's family recovered quickly, and now there is no problem. If we don't express our gratitude for the loss of 2 lives, we will feel something is missing, so Zifa brought his family to visit. Orlan did not refuse, but directly accepted the gift and put it aside. The gift from the Admiral of the Navy must have some value. I have also heard about the situation at the headquarters. Doctor, you will stay here for a few days. In this case, why not try my wife's cooking tonight? My wife and son also want to thank you. There are lunch boxes from the Navy cafeteria in the corner, and there are only traces of boiling water in the kitchen. It is obvious that the people here have not cooked these days. Of course, Zifa had this idea in mind, but just used this as a topic to invite. Yes, Uncle Sidilir, my mother cooks delicious food, just come. Obedience is worse than respect. Fran, stop for now, we will go to visit General Zifa's house tonight. Yes, father. Frankenstein ended his fake game, wiped the non-existent sweat on his forehead with a towel, and sat on a chair beside him, and the stickman also aroused the curiosity of Zifa's family. Dr. Sidilir, what is this? This is a training robot that can do some simple fighting training. Fran usually uses this for fitness. Will it fight back by itself? It is programmed this way. Are you interested in this? The cost is not high. If you like it, I can make one for you. Alas, because of family matters, I decided to retire from the front line. I will probably be responsible for things like recruit training in the future. If the intensity can be improved, the headquarters can also purchase a batch. Dummy training has always been a part of recruit training, but most of those dummies are just targets. If there is a dummy that can fight back by itself, it will definitely improve the training efficiency of soldiers. According to Zifa's plan, he will set up a special training camp to train some elites and give these people some high-intensity special treatment. He doesn't mind using this opportunity to let Oran make some money, provided that this thing is really useful. Well, I can give it a try and see if I can meet the standards you need, General Zifa. This training robot was a temporary idea of Orlan after he participated in Zifa's incident. It was assembled with the spare materials of the prosthesis. According to Orlan's memory, Zifa will be transferred to the chief instructor after this incident, but Orlan doesn't know what choice Zifa will make if his wife and children are not dead, so he is just waiting. The biggest function of this robot is actually recording. This product has the ability to save the combat habits of the trainees. These things are what Orlan really wants. The Navy who can enter the Zifa special training camp will be the backbone in the future. It is not an exaggeration to say that they support an era of the Navy. Preserving their combat habits will always come in handy. Chapter 73 How Can a Man Refuse Transformers? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Akainu, Kizaru, Akiji, the three future admirals of the Navy all came from Zephyr's training camp. In addition, many famous vice admirals, Smoker, Tina and other new generations of the Navy, all of these Navy have experience training under Zephyr. Pulling in, dividing, and annihilating are the general classifications of the Navy by Orlan. One day in the future, Orlan will eventually confront the world government. By then, it is not certain which Navy is the enemy and which is the friend. Mastering the combat habits of these people in advance, if nothing happens, can be used to further train your own people. If they are hostile, this will enable you to master their combat habits in advance and gain an advantage in the intelligence war. Machinery is an indispensable part of Orlan's men. If you can enter the program in advance, you can prepare the confrontation ideas in advance, take the lead, and regard it as an imaginary enemy. After all, there are only a few machines with emotions like Frankenstein. While emotions raise the upper limit, the lower limit is also lowered. From the manufacturing difficulty and cultivation cost, this model is destined not to be a mass-produced machine for consumption. The emotionless mechanical army is the main force at the grassroots level. The upper limit of such a mass-produced machine cannot reach the level of a self-growing machine like Frankenstein, but the average level is higher than that of a regular army. It will be a steel army that is not afraid of death, has no pain, and takes orders as everything, and such a machine needs relevant data the most. Although the issue of mass-produced machines has just been established, it does not affect Oran's preparation in advance. After all, having no sword and having a sword but not using it are two different things. Since the attack, Zifa's address has also been changed. After leaving the address and agreeing on a time, Zifa also left here first. He has a certain interest in training robots, but he can only make suggestions. The specific matters of procurement still need to be done by other people in the headquarters. After Zifa left, Oran opened the gift box brought by Zifa. There were not many things in it. In addition to a small Den Mushi, there were 2 knives. There was also a note next to the Den Mushi, which recorded Zephyr's private number. The meaning was obvious. If Orlan had any problems in the future, he could use this to contact him. Father, the knife is good, much better than ordinary standard weapons. Frankenstein ran his palm over the blade and identified the weapon in this special way. After all, it is a weapon sent by the Admiral of the Navy, or rather, the former Admiral of the Navy. It should be a famous sword. I don't know much about it. I can check it out when I go back. The Supreme Great Sword of 12 works, the Great Sword of 21 works, and the Good Sword of 50 works are excellent weapons made by famous craftsmen. Some of them gradually became famous because of their users. In short, their quality is much better than ordinary weapons. Orlan didn't fight many times himself. In addition to the people of MADS, only Ginny and Xiong knew that Orlan himself was a two-sword flow. Zephyr chose to give this gift, and it seemed that he had put some thought into it. Judging from the style of the scabbard and the handle, it was not a single weapon, but an uncommon pair of swords. After swinging it a few times to test the feeling, Orlan put away the weapon, and then gathered the remaining scraps of the assembly training robot together. After a simple reorganization, a small robot that can transform is completed. This is a small toy made for Zifa's son. Zifa took the initiative to invite them to thank him for his kindness. Even if Orlan wants to give Zifa something to further strengthen the relationship, Zifa will not accept it. After all, Zifa has not thought about how to repay the favor, but the things given to Yeklik are different. The small toys are not valuable, but they can attract the favor of children. Orlan doesn't believe that a 3-year-old child born in a Navy family and raised in such an environment can refuse a transformer that can transform into a small boat. Maybe this thing can be called something like Megatron or Sea Pillar. Facts have proved that Orlan underestimated the temptation of transformers to men. Yeklik loves the new toy. It is much more fun than a simple wooden sword and wooden gun. Even Zifa was somewhat interested in the exquisite little toy. If there was no one around, he might play with it himself. When Zifa was a child, he made the battle suit of Hero Z with wood and other things. He was very interested in this kind of thing. Yeklik, put away the toys and pay attention when eating. Oh, I see. Putting the toys on the shelf beside him, Yeklik sat upright on the chair. He did not notice that his father's eyes would occasionally sweep over his new toy. Dr. Sidilir, home-cooked food, please. Roasted meat, fried food, a pot of curry. The table was full of high-calorie food. For people like Zifa, this is a must, otherwise he can't withstand the physical consumption. In addition, there was a bottle of sherry, Zifa's favorite wine, but only Frankenstein drank a few glasses at the table. Orlan basically didn't touch the wine, but just took a few sips to indicate that the wine table culture had long been unable to restrain him. In most cases, Orlan was the one who made the rules. Frankenstein himself had no need for alcohol, but among the things on the table, alcohol was the only one that did not require her to consume extra energy to convert and could provide her with some energy. Thanks were said many times. In the end, Zifa's wife, children and Fran had come to the living room to chat about family matters. Only Zifa and Orlan were still sitting at the wine table. Doctor, you must have read a lot of books, right? Of course, the learning process is very long. I was just an ordinary person before. What's the problem? Admiral Zifa. Don't call me Admiral. I'm not an admiral now. Just call me by my name. I'm just curious about how you define justice. Zafar is now in a stage of doubt. Although he has gone through the process from the Navy is justice to the Navy may not be justice, but after this incident, he really doubted this word. The affirmative judgment of right and wrong, good and evil in the fields of politics, law, and morality is generally determined by mainstream values. This is the definition of this word. However, this word is also changing with the change of position. If you want me to say, the winner's words are justice. Is victory justice? Doctor, can you understand? The feeling that the goal that you have been striving for most of your life suddenly becomes blurred. No, Mr. Zifa, I never think that my goal is wrong. If it is really blurred, it is better to say that the original path is wrong. Blurred means that it needs to be corrected. Mr. Zifa, as a former admiral of the Navy, you should know about the overall mobilization of the Navy? No, that kind of thing is the work content of the Marshal. I only know the scope of action related to my mission. Does this have anything to do with what we say? Maybe, maybe not. When you are free, you can check it out and see the law of mobilization of the Navy. Maybe you will find something interesting. Chapter 75 Borsalino, you think too highly of your abilities. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The training camp led by former Admiral Zifa. It sounds great. 2 days later, in the recruit dormitory of the Navy headquarters, Sikorsky received the headquarters transfer order for them. I heard that he couldn't continue to fight on the front line due to physical reasons. It's only been 4 years since our teacher was promoted to Admiral. I don't know what he has been through. Borsalino read the headquarters detailed report, but concealed some of the process. The former admiral was worried that his family would not be able to continue to perform long-term overseas missions. This reason was too outrageous to say. The current admiral needs another reason to be transferred to an instructor, so this result came about, and Zifa himself also agreed with this statement. At this time, he and Sikorsky were roommates, living in this double room together. They were all excellent newcomers sent by branches from all over the country, so this treatment was still no problem. Sakaski, it looks like the road ahead will be very dangerous. In order to eliminate those rampant pirates, no matter what the price is, it is worth it. If you are afraid, why come here? You have to pay for smashing the table, Sakaski. If I remember correctly, you are penniless now. When talking about pirates, Sakaski's anger can be clearly felt. In the excitement, smashing the table seems to have become a habit, but Borsalino directly broke the atmosphere. Sakaski didn't say anything, just took the notice from Borsalino and read it himself. They are both thorns among the recruits, but they get along unexpectedly, otherwise they would not be put in the same dormitory. According to the above time, a group of recruits gathered in the training ground on time. Zifa's transfer to the instructor is also a sudden event for the Navy. Among the first batch of students, there are no officers who are specially sent for further study. They are all outstanding talents discovered from all over the world in the previous conscription. Everyone, welcome to join the Navy, but what awaits you here is the most brutal training. I don't care what your previous identities were, here, you are all recruits. What you have mastered before is just a child's trick to me. I will train you in the most severe way, and some unpleasant things may happen in the process. Don't worry, even if you accidentally lose your arms or legs, there are now remedial measures. Zeph pointed to the Den Mushi projecting on the side, and an operation on the wounded was in progress. Being injured in the training ground is much better than dying on the battlefield. I don't want to see your names on the tombstone one day in the future. If there are no problems, the training will start now. Instructor Zifa, I have a question. I heard that you were transferred from an active admiral to an instructor because of physical reasons. Is that right? Yes, it's a personal reason. Then how can you guarantee that you are still capable of doing what you just said, that the environment of the sea has a great impact on the transmission of information? Not only the pirates who have just set out to sea are ignorant, but also the soldiers who have just joined the Navy. Before seeing the top combat power, they didn't know how much gap there was between themselves and the strong. Borsalino, who was speaking at this time, was an example. Now Borsalino is not the Admiral Kizaru who has an ambiguous attitude towards many things and makes people suspect that he is an undercover, but a young and energetic recruit. Before deciding to join the Navy, he had never met any opponents. Even the local Navy branch complimented his ability very much, which made him doubt Zifa's words. Then how do you want me to prove it? Zephyr's mouth curled up. This kind of thorn was exactly what he needed. This is the army, and it is an army with extraordinary power. No matter how many words you say, it is not as real as seeing the real results with your hands. If no one responds, Zifa will have to stimulate them again. It just so happens that someone gave him such an opportunity. In the training ground of the new recruits' camp, a ball of golden light appeared in the air, but this light did not last long. Borsalino, you value the fruit ability too much. Zephyr's arms turned black. Borsalino's attacks were blocked by Zifa with his arms several times, and then a heavy punch hit him so hard that he couldn't stand up straight. Natural system, the shining fruit. Not a bad ability, but one ability is not enough to make you do whatever you want. If you are always so careless, it will kill people. It is still easy for Zifa, who is at his peak, to control Borsalino, who has just started. Although they are called monster rookies, Zifa is a monster that has grown up. Strength is a mountain. Everyone has his own peak, but as time goes by, people always have to go down the mountain. But at this time, Borsalino is still on the way to climb, and it is still far from the top of the mountain. It seems that no one has a problem, so the training officially begins. That while Zifa is leading the students, Oran also ushered in his first batch of naval apprentices, excellent military doctors from various branches. Dr. Sidilir, please tell me about this neuron connection. Dr. Sidilir. What else should I pay attention to when connecting the bones? In the future, except for special customization, Oran will not go to the Navy headquarters to perform surgery on people. These military doctors are already experts, and it is not complicated for them to learn how to install prostheses. The installation method has been told to them, and the dummy for practice has been made. They only need to practice a few more times, and they will naturally master the relevant things. For money, no matter how many questions the military doctors asked, Oran gave detailed answers, the exception was too stupid. Oran thought that a small number of them were not suitable for learning prosthetic surgery, and kicked them out of the learning team in the principle of saving time. Dr. Oran, thank you for your help. I didn't expect that I could still stand up. Olan performed more than one operation here, basically showing the replacement of all common prostheses, and the soldier in front of him replaced the spine. Yes, doctor, this leg is the same as the real one, as if my previous leg is back. They knew that this was an agreement between the headquarters and Oran, but they were still grateful to Oran. Moreover, no one could guarantee that they would not be injured in the future. It would definitely be good for them to have a good relationship with such a doctor. Olan then stayed in the Navy headquarters for another 2 days, observing the recovery of the wounded and giving further guidance to the military doctors who were studying. After all these were completed, it was time for Oran to return. However, Oran did not return directly to Daudu Island, but asked the Navy to send him to the Sabaody archipelago first. Now that he was at this location, he planned to stop by Fishman Island on the way. Chapter 76 Fishman Island. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Dr. Sidilir, we still have a mission to perform and can't accompany you any longer. When you need to return, you can come directly to the naval base in the Sabaody archipelago and we will be responsible for sending you back. The people were taken over by the Navy, so they will naturally be responsible for sending them back, but Orlan has to go to Fishman Island halfway, which is a bit special. Fishman Island is located 10,000 meters deep in the sea. It is the country with the lowest average altitude among the known countries and the one with the most special surrounding environment. The Red Earth continent cuts the Grand Line into 2 parts. If the Navy wants to go to the New World, they usually change ships but not people, and cross the Red Earth continent in Marihoa, so the Navy rarely goes to Fishman Island, but pirates can't do that. They can't pass through Marihoa. Except for a very small number of people who have the ability to fly, their only way is to go to the New World underwater through Fishman Island. This brings endless troubles to Fishman Island. Due to the extremely chaotic magnetic field in the Grand Line, navigation here requires relying on recording pointers. It is a special spherical compass, which records the magnetic attraction between islands to guide the direction of the next island, so every time you arrive at an island, you have to spend a few hours to a few months to fill the record of the compass, so that you can set off to the next island. The Sabaody archipelago itself is a tree island composed of countless mangroves, and it does not have this kind of magnetic force. Therefore, when you arrive near this place, the target of the record pointer is Fishman Island. The magnetic field of the New World is more chaotic than the magnetic field in the first half of the Grand Line. The original pointer will fail there, so an upgraded version of the pointer with 3 routes on a needle disc is needed. Only in this way will you not get lost in the New World. This has caused Fishman Island to become a transit station that pirates cannot bypass. Almost no pirate is willing to choose to bypass Fishman Island and go directly to the New World through the crack under the Red Earth continent at the cost of navigation safety. Fishman Island has also gained material exchanges from the ground with this geographical advantage, and selling new record pointers is also one of Fishman Island's businesses. Many pirates who were like young and inexperienced did not know that the record pointer had to be upgraded before this. This also applies to the protagonist team of the original timeline. To this day, we still don't know what Rayleigh did in the past 2 years besides laying the foundation, which made the Straw Hat Pirates lack the necessary knowledge of the New World. However, most of the pirates are representatives of disorder. The flow of pirates can bring economic changes, but also huge risks. Judging from the recent situation of Fishman Island, they did not grasp this risk. In other words, their military force and policy guidelines cannot afford this business. There are many strong pirates, but Fishman Island is under the deep sea of 10,000 meters. Humans must rely on bubble membranes to fight against the deep sea, but fishmen and mermaids don't need to. In their own home environment, they were overwhelmed by pirates. If it were those monster-like guys, it would be fine, but in fact, the pirates who could reach Fishman Island could bring huge troubles to Fishman Island. In the eyes of humans, Fishman Island is a soft persimmon that can be bullied at will. The royal family of Fishman Island must bear some responsibility for being in such a mess. In Oran's opinion, they are too weak. But this kind of weakness may be more beneficial to Oran. it is better to lean on a big tree for shade. The Navy basically does not go to Fishman Island, but it does not mean that they have no way to go. With the help of the Navy, Oran quickly boarded a favorable merchant ship and headed to the deep-sea Fishman Island. Wherever there is interest, there are always merchants, and Fishman Island is such an example. The deep-sea environment allows Fishman Island to be self-sufficient, but the products on the ground can always be sold at a good price there. As the ship dives, the light gradually disappears, and the darkness of the deep sea begins to surround the ship. The sailors on the ship are very skilled, and no one is curious about the outside environment. It seems that this is not the first time to go down. At this time, a man dressed as a captain came over. "This guy, is this your first time to Fishman Island?" Olan is well known in the academic circle, but outsiders don't know him. Most of them just heard in the newspaper that he is a very good doctor with many achievements. Apart from that, they don't know much about Orlan, including his appearance. He took the initiative to come over, just because he thought Orlan was a person with connections. If the Navy could find a ship, his background must be very impressive. "I was just sitting there doing nothing on the ship, and if I could talk about something valuable, I would make a profit." "Well, what's the matter?" "Nothing, just a reminder that the sea is not peaceful, so be careful. Although the Ryugu Kingdom is a member of the Alliance, it is no different from a lawless place. About 170 years ago, the Ryugu Kingdom officially became a member of the Alliance, but this thing is more like a face-saving project. Apart from the equality in the mouth of the world government, it has no meaning. Fishman Island is still the same. Pirates passing by want to make a fortune here. Young female mermaids have always been a hot commodity in the population market. The conflict between races continues to deepen. Is Fishman Island in chaos now? At this time, Orlan knew nothing about the situation of Fishman Island at this point in time. He knew that after the Great Pirate Era began, Fishman Island faced the worst environment, and it was only with the protection of Whitebeard's flag that the predicament was resolved, but according to the man in front of him, it doesn't seem to be much better now. It's okay near the royal city. Saturn's Sea King army maintains the most basic order. Saturn is the king of the Dragon Palace Kingdom now. That guy doesn't like humans very much, but he won't order his men to attack humans. Remote places are different, especially Fishman Street. That place is different from Fishman Island. Many of the fishmen living there are extremely hostile to humans. It's best not to get close to that place. Fishman Street is part of Fishman Island. It was originally a place to adopt orphans. However, as time passed, the lack of management made it an illegal place on Fishman Island, and Fishman Street is not in the huge bubble membrane of Fishman Island. It is located on the west side of Fishman Island, on a submarine plane outside the bubble membrane. The environment is much worse than that inside Fishman Island. So, hiring fishmen now is a very troublesome thing. From the captain's mouth, Orlan roughly understood the current situation of Fishman Island, which is more complicated than he thought. Orlan had 3 things to do when he came to Fishman Island this time. The first was to bring some gifts back to Liliana. This child is not picky about anything, but he loves to eat. The desserts in Fishman Island are a good choice. Second, as the development plan is on track, Orlan's demand for resources is also increasing. He wants to hire a group of fishmen to explore the underwater resources for him. The third is to see Shark. After all, he promised to come to Fishman Island to take a look, and he still has to do it. He can't let Shark wait for 22 years like Pidgeot in Evergreen Forest. Chapter 77 Listening to the Voice of All Things and Otohime. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Employ? Are you kidding me? If you want to buy a few fishmen or mermaid slaves, it's okay. I've never heard of any fishmen being hired by humans. After hearing that Orlan wanted to hire fishmen, the captain felt that Orlan was a little naive. After all, this behavior did not conform to the current mainstream concept. I'm serious. It seems that you often go back and forth to Fishman Island. If there is a way that can be used, you might as well introduce it to me. No, I advise you not to think about this. Hiring those barbaric guys will only bring you trouble. The mainstream view of the world government is to treat mermaids and fishmen as humans, and not to discriminate against them as fish. This was written into the regulations when the Kingdom of Dragon Palace joined the world government as a member country, but in fact, this regulation is useless. Concepts cannot be changed by a piece of paper, not born yet. How long has it been? It's almost there. It's not far from the day when the king is born. This is just a fragment of our long life. What did you say? I said your idea of hiring fishmen is unrealistic. What can those barbaric guys do? We are about to reach Fishman Island. You should pay more attention. It seems that because of Oran's idea of hiring fishmen, or because they are about to reach their destination, the captain returned to the captain's room after dealing with a few words. Soon after, a ray of light appeared in the deep sea ahead. That was the miracle brought by the sun tree Eve. It was because of it that Fishman Island could have its own sun in the deep sea. Father, I didn't hear anyone else talking just now. Frankenstein was sure that Oran did not fail to hear the captain's words. At the same time, there was a sound of water flow above the ship. In the dark sea current, it seemed that two huge monsters had just swam past. I know, this is the Sea King waiting for their king. In addition to the Sea King, Oran couldn't figure out what other creatures could make such audio in the deep sea that even Frankenstein couldn't hear. However, this also made Orlan realize one thing. Observation hockey is the power of hearing. The basic observation hockey can be regarded as an extension of hearing, but in this process, various special powers are also born, such as listening to the voice of all things. His own powerful mental power has continued to play a role after coming to this world. Being able to hear the voice of the Sea King is just one of the manifestations of this power. It seems a bit tasteless, but it's not bad. Orlan is not sure whether this ability is the power of listening to the voice of all things, so he didn't take it to heart for the time being. He usually has no desire to communicate with these giant creatures, and the existing abilities will not disappear out of thin air. If there is a chance in the future, he can naturally practice it slowly. At this time, the ship has entered the country smoothly, and Orlan is also facing a problem. He agreed to meet Shark again on Fishman Island, but there is no contact information. It seems to be a difficult task to find each other on the huge Fishman Island, but before Orlan made any new decisions, an excited voice sounded on the side. Mr. Oran. Long time no see, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Shaq. How did you know I would come here at this time? It was divination. A famous fortune teller on Fishman Island told me that you would come this month. I thought Mr. Oran would not choose to enter the country illegally, so I have been waiting for you nearby. Divination culture is very popular on Fishman Island. Famous fortune tellers are also respected here. Even the king will make corresponding countermeasures according to the results of divination. Divination. I was thinking about how to contact you before. How have you been during this period? Not bad. I have never felt that freedom is so precious before. Let's not talk about this. Let me take you to visit Fishman Island. There are many things here that cannot be seen on the ground. By the way, who is this? Frankenstein, my daughter. She looks a lot like you. She looks as smart as you. Shaq did not bother about Frankenstein's appearance and age. She just thought that she was a family member of Oran before, and then took them to visit Fishman Island. That's the Marin Shopping Center, which sells specialties from Fishman Island. A little further away is my apartment. It seems that you are well off. This area should be very expensive. The top floor is like this, but I live at the bottom, and the rent is very cheap. The most expensive thing in Fishman Island is sunlight. The better the light, the more expensive the room. In fact, Fishman Street is cheaper, but it's too messy, so Shaq moved to Fishman Island after he was free. Shaq, is it okay for you to do this? Mr. Oran, what are you talking about? The environment here is not very welcoming to humans, right? Won't it cause any trouble for you to be our guide like this? That the population of Fishman Island is not small, but along the way, many mermaids and fishmen chose to bypass Oran and his group, deliberately avoiding some things. It's okay. Trade with humans has always existed. There are also many contacts with humans at the entry and exit points. Most of the people are just afraid of humans, there is nothing we can do about it. There are people on Fishman Island who hope to live in peace with humans, but the reality is too cruel. The pirates' looting of Fishman Island, the popularity of mermaids in the slave market, and the inaction of the world government are all deepening the conflict between the races. Doing hundreds of good things is not as influential as one bad thing. One conspicuous individual behavior will rise to discrimination against this region, not to mention that most people on Fishman Island are pirates. But with a huge population base, there are still a few exceptions. Just as Shaq sighed, a mermaid floated to his side with the help of coral bubbles. "Uncle, are you willing to help everyone understand more about humans?" "Little girl, who are you? What are you talking about?" "Ah, sorry for being abrupt, my name is Otohime. My dream is that one day in the future, humans, fishmen, and mermaids can live together equally without discrimination and oppression." With long light golden hair and a red and gold fishtail, the person named Otohime is a goldfish mermaid and the future princess, but now, she is just a girl, and her ideas are more idealistic than those of an adult. Fishman Island has prevented most people from understanding the land, and the unknown and those human pirates have caused the conflicts to continue to increase. This is not good for the future of Fishman Island, so I want the citizens to have a better understanding of humans. I think these two humans are good friends, so are you willing to help me? Otohime's eyes were full of expectations, as if she wanted to get a kind of recognition from Shaq. Chapter 78 Idealism and Future Investment. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Otohime is very weak, but has a special talent for seeing and seeing. She has awakened that power since she was born, and unlike ordinary sight colors which are only used to avoid attacks, her sight colors can feel the hearts and thoughts of others and resonate emotionally. If she is willing, she can even subtly change other people's inner thoughts. This is a power that all the failed art students in Vienna will envy. However, there is no ambition in Otohime's heart, but an ideal and beautiful fantasy. As she grows older, Otohime's abilities begin to show. She can feel the grief and fear in the hearts of people around her, so she wants to change everything. She has seen many people of the same race who are in contact with humans, but the thoughts in their hearts are all about profit, and even have many evil thoughts. Many fishmen themselves will abduct mermaids and hand them over to humans in exchange for large amounts of money, but in Shaq's heart, she didn't feel that kind of evil thoughts, but a sense of pure gratitude and trust. It didn't take long from Otohime's idea to taking action, but so far, she has been hitting a wall all the time, and no one agrees with her idea. At this time, she is very eager to agree. "Are you kidding? Do you know what you are talking about? Put away your unrealistic ideas, you will only harm yourself." But the reality is that Shaq did not agree with her philosophy. Instead, he became irritable. He ripped the hand-drawn flyer out of Otohime's hand and his expression became a little ferocious. The sharp teeth and the original Fishman appearance make him look a bit scary. "Uncle, that's not what you think in your heart. I can feel the worry and tenderness in your heart. Aren't you a trustworthy human friend? Why do you avoid this?" Otohime was not afraid, but asked Shaq face to face. "You kid, you don't understand anything. Do you think equality can be shouted out with your mouth? Human beings are dangerous. Your thoughts will only harm yourself." Because of his experience, Shaq understands the benefits and dangers of these things better. He doesn't know that Otohime has the intelligence of a bug. In Shaq's opinion, if a mermaid with such naive ideas comes into contact with humans, sooner or later he will be kidnapped and sold. Once they become slaves, the fate of mermaids is often much worse than that of fishmen. "Mr. Oran, I'm not talking about you. I know you are a good person, but the human group." Shaq also realized that he had just fired the map cannon, but he really didn't want to watch his compatriots take the initiative to approach danger, so he didn't think too much about it in his excitement. "No need to explain, Shaq, I can understand you. It's a good thing to have a sense of crisis. You are also worried that something will happen to her." "No, that's not the case. It's just because I don't understand." "Otohime, right? If you want to change everything, you must first accept it. In fact, the reality may be even worse. It seems that this is not the first day you have done this. Have you met any compatriots who recognize you? No. At this point, Otohime became a little disappointed. She seemed so happy before just because she felt that Shaq's attitude towards humans was not so indifferent, but the reality was not so satisfactory, but soon she cheered up again. So Mr. Human, would you like to be friends with me? Otohime is still in the exploratory stage. At this moment, she realizes that she herself doesn't understand human beings, so how can she talk about persuading others? Oran already had Fishman friends, and Otohime didn't realize that Oran had any evil intentions, so he took the first step of his own attempt. Of course, Miss Mermaid. When you come out to hang out, you need to have connections. At this time, she is just an innocent mermaid girl, but she is the future queen of Fishman Island, and she is deeply loved by the people. There's no harm in connecting with Otohime now. I didn't bring anything with me, so this is just a welcome gift. Oran took out a book from his backpack. It was originally an atlas bought for Riley in the Shampoo Islands, but at this time it was very suitable for a mermaid who had lived in the deep sea for a long time. Thank you, I like this very much, then this can be considered as a return gift. Books are not valuable on land, but they are very precious on the underwater Fishman Island. In the end, Oran exchanged an atlas for a pearl as big as a baby's fist from Otohime, and also exchanged contact information. Mr. Oran, you are really lucky that the girl came into contact with humans first. I hope you can help her understand humans better. After Otohime left, Shaq felt a little emotional, but Oran didn't feel that way. Her character, even if she is bruised, will still give back kindness to the world. It doesn't matter, I see that your living conditions on Fishman Island are relatively average. Come and help me, Shaq. Out of trust in Olan, Shaq agreed to Olan's request without much thought and became Olan's comprador on Fishman Island, recruiting some fishmen to explore the seabed in his own capacity. After all, with the current situation on Fishman Island, it would be somewhat difficult to directly recruit fishmen as humans. After that, Oran and Frankenstein purchased some supplies and took the boat back to land. Father, isn't this a waste of energy? Maybe we can build some robots to accomplish your goals. When he reached the surface of the sea, Frankenstein was still a little puzzled. Fran, you are right, but this is a cost issue. The situation under the ocean is changeable, and ordinary underwater detectors are difficult to cope with such complex situations. If you want to achieve this goal accurately, the cost is too high. At least you need to have independent self-awareness. Olan also considered Frankenstein's idea, but the cost was too high. Even the cost of manufacturing a detection robot is higher than the value of the mineral deposit itself. Fran, you are priceless in my heart. You, Riley, Blitz, and Zack are all unique. Even if I create another creature with the same way of thinking, the same ability, and the same appearance as you, you are essentially different. Olan gestured to Frankenstein to sit aside and not to be on high alert all the time. But the value of your parts can be calculated. Feld spent 150 million berries to purchase the accumulative fruit. The hex core is a unique product here, so I will assume it is worth 1 billion berries. The special material used to make your body was also synthesized by Bear. If you calculate it carefully, it can be worth 100 million berries, and this is just the cost price. Exploration robots don't have to be as sophisticated as Frankenstein, but equipment that can explore the deep sea is not easy to make. The cost of one machine is enough to hire hundreds of fishmen to work for a year, and this is still the premise of high salary. In addition, because the industrial system has not been established, Oran will have to devote a lot of time and cost to build it by itself. After all, it is not cost-effective, and this is a diplomatic investment in the future. The fishmen are too convenient to move at sea in this foreign race, and it is also related to the Sea King, one of the 3 ancient weapons. Although Oran's technological development does not rely on archaeology, there is no harm in bringing this kind of power under its command. After comprehensive consideration, Oran had the idea of hiring this underwater race. In the original timeline, Whitebeard had a high reputation in Fishman Island because he lent the flag to Fishman Island when Fishman Island was in its darkest time. then Orlan could also help here at an appropriate time, expand his influence here, and complete a deeper layout. Chapter 79, Remarks on the Launch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The new book period is over, and it is on the shelves. This time I have made progress and finally got Sanjiang. Thank you for your support and rewards. After the release, there will definitely be more updates than before. I will update 10,000 words in a while, about 2 o'clock, I will post them all at once after they are finished. The update time in the future will basically be in the evening, so there will be no separate development. The meaningless story of selling misery is omitted in the brackets, pretending to be written by myself. If you like it, please support and subscribe. Chapter 80 I Love You, Dad. See you tomorrow, 5K. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the naval base of the Sabaody archipelago, Oran boarded the warship again. The local garrison commander happened to be a subordinate brought by Zifa, and Zifa had also greeted him in advance. In addition, the headquarters also conveyed the order, so he very politely arranged for the warship to escort Oran back. On Daudo Island, Kate was sitting on the windowsill, measuring the thickness of her tail with a tape measure. Is it because Riley has a good appetite that I seem to have gained weight recently? Looking at the numbers on the tape measure, Kate sighed. Eating requires a meal partner. If the people at the same table have a particularly good appetite, sometimes you will unconsciously eat more. There is no doubt that Liliana has a very strong appetite, so much so that Kate feels that she has gained weight during the days when she took care of Oran's children. Ha! Hey! Ha! At this time, a series of regular slogans came from under the windowsill. Liliana was practicing boxing with Blitz. Blitzcrank wore 2 huge red boxing gloves and took a defensive counterattack posture, blocking the small fist swung by Liliana. Boom! Boom! Although it was a collision between flesh and steel, it made a banging sound like iron. Liliana, I'm going to fight back, be careful. Blitzcrank's growth module is also constantly learning, and the voice system is beginning to mature. Although there is still a clear metallic sound, the speech is no longer intermittent. Oh, come on. Liliana made a horse stance and put her right hand back to her waist, posing a straight fist posture. Bang! A puff of steam came out from behind Blitzcrank, and his right fist flew towards Liliana. If you look closely, Blitzcrank's punch trajectory is actually crooked. Even if Liliana stands still, it is difficult for this punch to hit her. After all, his task is to feed and spar, not to fight to the death. Liliana didn't notice this. At this moment, she didn't realize that her talent was beyond the reach of many people. Now she just wanted to show Orlan the results of her study these days. When he came back, an unknown air flowed through her body, and the fallen leaves and dust at her feet began to tremble. The faint golden color was hard to detect, and the air that was closer to a transparent state gradually condensed on Liliana's fist. Aha! With the rotation of her waist, Liliana concentrated her strength on her fist. A burst of air swung out from the front of Liliana's fist. Now she was not proficient. After the fist was swung out, the force spread to the surroundings, and only a part of it finally brushed the target. Blitzcrank's mechanical flying claw deviated from the trajectory because of this force. With a crackling sound, the red gloves were torn, and the cotton inside scattered and drifted away with the wind. Good, it succeeded again. If Set himself came, this punch would undoubtedly fail, but for a 3-year-old beginner, this was enough. Brother Blitz, let's do it again. I think we can fight even harder this time. Riley, it's time. We should go to practice. You can continue practicing in the afternoon. Without waiting for Blitz to respond, Kate had already changed her clothes and walked down. Going around the island every day is a compulsory course for Liliana, and her physique is constantly growing in this process. Hey, it's time. Why hasn't Dad come back yet? Didn't he say he would come back in a few days? Liliana looked at a stone disc in the yard with a steel needle inserted on it. That was the timer in the yard, commonly known as the sundial. The shadow of the pointer at this time was just under her feet, and this position also meant that noon had arrived again. In this place, the sundial timer looked a bit old, but it was actually the handwork of the whole family. The stone was dug out of the soil by Terra. Blitz moved it back to the yard, and Frankenstein smashed it into a suitable shape. Kate adjusted the details according to astrology. which was her dead father's hobby. For this reason, Kate is the person who knows the movement of stars best here. Orlan is the chief designer, and Liliana carved the dial. The slightly childish picture on it is her work. The work itself is not difficult, but it is the first finished product made by the initial members of the Sidilir family. Zack, who was born later, was unable to participate in this matter due to the time node. The ordinary sundial has a great commemorative significance. As a timekeeping tool, it is more like a unique milestone. It's almost there. According to the schedule, it should be here tomorrow. I know, Brother Blitz, I will go to play with Sister Kate first, and I will play with you when I come back. Yes, in Liliana's eyes, this is not training and learning at all, but playing. Although she will feel tired and exhausted, the process always makes her feel happy, which is equivalent to playing in her heart. Terra. Come out, don't destroy Sister Fran's garden. After searching around for a while, Liliana came to the entrance of a crypt, then went in and dragged the dozing Terra out, carrying her on her back as a weight. With Liliana's physical fitness, ordinary weight blocks are useless to her. If you want to achieve the effect, you have to wrap her up like a tire with sandbags, but Terra is different. Elemental dragons have their own preferences. As a mountain dragon, digging holes in rocks is as basic as flying and crawling. By the way, in the notes given by Kiana, there are records that mountain dragons are the favorite dragons of farmers. Just one dragon can solve all the arable land problems of a city-state. Elemental dragons also have their own elemental magic. Gravity and rock are Terra's abilities. It can increase gravity to allow Liliana to have a more reasonable load. This is its innate ability. Although it is not yet proficient, it is enough to help Liliana practice. Roar. The sleepy Terra seemed helpless. It, a mountain dragon, can become very powerful if it sleeps for 100 years, but it has to be dragged to practice every day. The family's status determined at birth and the reality made it unable to refute. Fortunately, Liliana encountered a special mineral deposit during her round the island training, which could let it have a full meal. It got used to it these days. Let's go. Making a starting posture, Liliana ran towards the distant coastline, and shouted to Kate to catch up. Adjusting her breathing frequency and pace, Liliana once again set foot on the road she had passed countless times. Kate followed her not far away, but when she passed a coffee plantation, she frowned. What on earth do these guys want to do after 3 days? Hey, Orlan. It's the same thing again. Those guys are still on the road that Riley must pass. I'm sure that Meow won't recognize the smell wrong. See Riley's own reaction. Meow knows. Meow will keep an eye on her, don't worry. The specialty of Daudu Island is coffee beans. Most islanders make their main living by growing coffee. If they are ordinary coffee growers, they will not attract Kate's attention. After all, Liliana's route passes through the coffee plantation, but Kate has smelled these smells in many places in the past few days. They seem to have some purpose, but they have not taken any action. Boss, why don't we go and rob Feld? He's the richest man. Nonsense, the world government still has money. Why don't you rob the ship carrying the sky gold? You have to live to spend money. Feld has too many bodyguards around him. I've already inquired about it. The girl's father is a very famous doctor. He is still researching something for Feld. He must have money. As long as we kidnap her daughter, we will definitely make a lot of ransom. With this money, we can regroup and kill those damn pirates. This group of people were originally a group of mountain bandits, but the island they occupied was taken down by a group of pirates. After several twists and turns, these people finally ended up on this island. Feld was originally the leader of the underground world. There were all kinds of people on his territory. When these people came here, they didn't attract much attention. As expected of the boss, she always seems to be carrying a strange lizard on her back. It should be able to sell for a good price, right? Stupid, that's called a dragon. It's a legendary creature. If it's sent to the auction house, I dare not imagine how much it would be. That idiot doctor didn't even give his daughter a bodyguard. This is simply wealth delivered to the door. The leader of the bandits painted a pie in the sky for his subordinates, imagining the beautiful life that belongs to them, but there are always some people who don't give him face. Boss, does she have a bodyguard? Isn't that cat woman always following her? That's called a nanny. What can such a little thing do? Have you figured out the route? Then hurry up and do it. The bandits immediately took action and took a shortcut to the side. In a forest, the bandits who had already stepped on the point were waiting here. Soon, Liliana's figure appeared on the mountain road. Here we go, let's do it. To some extent, these bandits followed the rules very well. They didn't go out and tie people up directly, but pulled a rope to trip Liliana before they started. A rope close to the ankle was suddenly tightened when Liliana approached, and then the people pulling the rope on both sides flew out. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? This is the true inner portrayal of the two bandits. Even if an adult was riding a horse, this could trip the other person, but the reality was that the two of them rolled to the middle of the road, and Liliana looked at the rope at her feet and the uncle who fell down with a puzzled look. What do you want to do? Jumping rubber bands? Or magic? That she didn't realize what was happening. She felt something stuck in her legs, and then the two of them suddenly flew out. Waste, haven't you eaten for a few days? You can't even trip a little girl. Feld's territory is chaotic because there are people from various forces here, not because of disorder in order. If anyone makes a big noise here, Feld's men will clear them out without anyone else's help, so these penniless bandits endured for several days without making any noise in order to move smoothly, relying on wild fruits and grass to fill their stomachs. They wanted to hunt, but for some reason, they couldn't see even a rabbit nearby. This is the result of the choice of these bandits. In order to keep an eye on them, they are very close to Oran's residence, but there is a dragon living here. Even if it is a sub-dragon, it scares away almost all the animals nearby. It's not easy to catch a few fish, but it's not enough for everyone to fill their stomachs. In the end, it became like this. If they don't find a way to act, they may become starving bandits. Little friend, don't be afraid, we won't hurt you, we just want your father's money. As soon as he finished speaking, a note with a face value of 5,000 Bailey floated to his feet. The note was very light, but it hit his heart like a heavy hammer. Is that enough? This is all the pocket money my dad gave me. Go buy some food. We are so hungry that we can't even hold the rope. We are not beggars. We are bandits. Bandits. He saw sympathy and pity in the eyes of a little girl, and that look instantly broke his defense. After all, he was a bully in the mountains, but now he has fallen to this point. Don't you have no money to eat? Do you want to ask my dad for money? Aren't you beggars? Liliana is still relatively innocent now, and has her own set of thinking logic of a child. At least in her eyes, this group of people are beggars. I'm robbing. I'm going to kidnap you and then extort ransom from your doctor dad. Not a beggar. A bandit. Do you understand? So you are bad people. Yes, very bad people. I will sell you and make sure your dad can never find you again. This is not the first time he has done this. When he was driven away by the pirates, the locals even praised the pirates as heroes. After all, the pirates only robbed the bandits and did not attack ordinary people. They are considered to be a more moral group among the pirates. According to his previous experience, a child of this age would cry loudly if he was frightened casually, so that he could vent his depression of being treated as a beggar. With his threat, the smile on Liliana's mouth and the pity in her eyes did disappear, but it was replaced by anger instead of fear. You said you want my dad to never find me again. Liliana put Terra on her back to the ground and stared at the bandit leader. The look in her eyes even made the bandit leader take a step back. Although she was just a child, she gave him a feeling of a ferocious beast. No, what am I afraid of? She is just a little kid over 3 years old. What can she do? Thinking so, the bandit leader took a step forward, and Liliana also made a fist-shaking gesture. After a punch, the surrounding bandits laughed and fell backwards, because nothing happened. The other party seemed to be just posing. Boss, she looks down on you. Yes, a little girl looks down on you. How can you be the king of bandits like this? Amid the laughter of the pirates, Liliana pouted. It's all your fault. I have already learned it. I will show it to my dad when he comes back. I hate you bad guys. In fact, Liliana's mastery was a little unstable, sometimes working and sometimes not, so she had been practicing with Blitz. At this time, someone just happened to touch her bad luck, and she became a natural scapegoat, and the instability can also float upward. The most important thing about this set of moves is, smash as you like. The secret of the move from Set, the founder of the deliberate punch, Liliana punched out again, and for a moment, everyone's laughter was stuck in their throats and swallowed back with difficulty. The wind was blowing everywhere, and the violent whistling sound seemed to pierce people's eardrums. The same action, but the effect was completely different. Before the attack arrived, the awe-inspiring momentum had firmly bound the opponent in place, unable to move. Boom! There was a half-meter deep dent on the ground, and a section of the tree that 2 or 3 people could hug disappeared out of thin air. It fell to the ground with a creaking sound. This time Liliana used the real power of the deliberate punch. Although it was a basic version without any accumulation of heroic spirit, it gathered most of the strength in her body. The boxing method given by my father is really powerful. Liliana waved her fist a few more times, as if she was savoring the feeling just now. I'm just a little tired and hungry. The price of super performance is to consume more physical strength. Liliana was still immersed in the momentum of her punch, but the bandits around her were not so calm. Where is the old man? Where did he hide? What a joke, didn't you say that the target of the kidnapping was a 3-year-old child? You call this 3 years old? I'm 30 years old and I don't have this ability. He is simply a monster. There is a gap even at 3 years old. Zifa's son has no ability to fight back, but here, everything is different. No one answered the question of where the leader went. The scene has explained everything. Even the rocks and trees were smashed into powder. How could the human body withstand it? They didn't even hear the screams of their boss. Even if they didn't want to admit it, they knew that their boss was probably integrated with the rubble and dust. I say. Let's run while she doesn't notice us. That makes sense. It should be safer to rob Feld. The bandits quietly retreated into the forest. Even with weapons, they were scared by the punch and didn't dare to make any more attempts. Terra noticed this, but did not remind Liliana. It smelled another familiar smell in the forest. At the same time, it was still thinking, what would happen if this punch hit itself, and whether its heavy rock-scale armor could withstand this punch in the future. Oh no, those bad guys ran away. I have to tell Sister Kate. In the past, Kate would keep a certain distance from her during training, so Liliana was not curious about where Kate was now. Taking out the special Den Mushy, Liliana pressed the one-touch dialing button, but the Den Mushy said it was busy. At the same time, in the forest, a hunt was still going on, which also explained why Kate's phone was busy. Olin, it's Meow. Riley's move was quite decisive, and it's good enough for her to be able to do this at this age. If it were an adult, it would undoubtedly be unqualified to let the other members of these bandits run away, but for Liliana, it was a good start. When faced with something that threatened her, she would fight back without hesitation. Meow, it's okay, I'm cleaning up the follow-up problems, and I won't let any of them go. With a scream, another bandit fell in front of her. All the bandits just now fell in this forest without exception. Like their boss, as a bandit, he merged with the mountain.